Hi, I'm Leah. Today we're going to be talking about following Jesus. But what does that mean? What does it mean when Jesus says, "Follow me"? I know that I have plenty of concerns when it came to following Jesus. So I was raised Catholic, and I've heard that Jesus loves me and he died for me. But I have these reservations. I mean, why does he love me? He doesn't even know me. What does Jesus want from me? A nice thank you note? I mean, is he happy with whatever I give him? A few prayers here and there, doing the bare minimum? Or does he want more? And if he wants more, how much more? Does he want my entire life? And if so, what is he going to do with it? And if so, what does that look like? It can feel like a jail cell. I had this perception of people who followed Jesus were like this old church lady wearing itchy brown plaid and hushing people all the time. And that idea of following Jesus didn't really fit into what I wanted in the world. The choice is pretty easy. I don't want the itchy brown plaid. I want this over here. That's what I thought. So for me, following Jesus would mean that I have to put away all of my desires of happiness, and do whatever he said. Now, even though I like Jesus, don't get me wrong, of course I like him. I wasn't a terrible person. I just wasn't really sure if he would give me what I wanted out of life. I mean, he might make me holy, but will he make me happy? Does he really care that I love fashion and that glitter's my favorite color? Or does he also just want me to be a good person, put all of that aside? I just wasn't sure exactly what it was. Once again, I just always saw it as this or that. The reality is that we all follow something. Even though I pretended to be in control of my entire life, the captain of my ship, I still followed people and things in the world to get me where I wanted to go. Whether it was following people, what to look like, how to dress, my actions on the weekend, whatever it was, I was still following others in a way. I just want to ask you the question, what are you following? I stood in an audition line with thousands of other girls waiting to be chosen by Tyra Banks to be on the reality TV show America's Next Top Model. I had just recently graduated college and believed that pursuing a modeling career and being a professional model and being on TV would fulfill some of my biggest dreams. I wanted to be beautiful. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be loved. I wanted attention. As silly as that sounds, it's what I wanted though. And I was doing all of that thinking that I would still be a good person, right? And with all my leftover money, I would help people at some point, right? So I was chosen to be on America's Next Top Model, Cycle 3. And after we began filming, there's all the eliminations that go on every week. My week came up and I was eliminated. Even though I was eliminated, I still wanted to make it. I still wanted to do it. And I moved to New York and I became a professional model. And I did. I started modeling and doing all the things that models do, and I wanted, to prove it, that I could just make it in the world, Now I got this phone call one day from an international magazine, and they said that they had something to offer me, that I had this great girl next door look, but they were going to offer something more. They were going to showcase me in a way that the world would just love, and it would really help my portfolio, and all these little things, right? So I agreed to do it. So on the day of the shoot, I arrived and went straight into hair and makeup. They gave me plenty of outfits to choose from. I remember them just like wheeling around this rack of clothes, and I was so excited, to pick out whatever I wanted to wear. But as I was looking through all the options, I realized their outfits were not outfits that would make my mom and my dad proud. But they're totally acceptable by today's beauty and fashion standards. So I was scared to speak up. I was scared to say, hey, I don't want to wear this. And I could tell that there was a lot of pressure just to wear it and just to keep going and just to be the professional, right? The photographer was in place and the photo shoot began. He was right out and up in front of me and taking, picture after picture after picture. The flash from the camera, one of the flashes just came across my face. It was just really bright. And so I had to turn away to regain my focus. And I was blinking and trying to regain my focus, and it was at this time that it was like this little movie or so was playing inside my head at the moment. And I saw myself standing in this big white space, and I was wearing the immodest outfit that I was modeling. I had my hands cupped together at my waist like this. And then I just raised them all the way up to the height of my head. And what I saw out and up above me was the profile of this man's face. And he looked at my hands and he just bowed his head. So I brought my hands back down to see what was so disappointing. And the answer just stared at me in the face. My hands were empty. There's nothing in them. Well, the photographer was snapping his fingers, trying to get my attention so that I would finish the shoot, because he could tell that I would kind of drifted off and wasn't paying attention, and he was just snapping away. Leah, 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 come on. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't go back to the shoot. I couldn't continue with it. And it wasn't for me that I couldn't just continue the shoot. I just couldn't continue this like immature and really sinful life that I was leading. So I told him that I had to leave, and I got up to gather all of my things. And as I got to the door, I had my hand on the doorknob, and the last thing the photographer said to me was, "If you leave, you're going to be a nobody." All I could say was, "Do you promise?" You see, for me, this was the first time in my life that I was being honest with myself. And I had made the world everything. I had made everybody that I followed in the world everything. And I had made Jesus a nobody. I had made my faith nothing. And I realized that friendship with Jesus was not just something, but it was everything, everything. And I wanted that. I wanted to become a nobody to the world, and I wanted Christ to be my everything. Like, I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be or to feel beautiful based on these ridiculous beauty standards that our world has. I don't need the world to validate me or to choose me. Christ has chosen me. You know, I really misunderstood the invitation of Jesus. And I misunderstood who God was. In my own life, I believe that there was a God in the universe, of course, who wanted me to be happy. I believed in the Bible. I didn't really read it, but, you know, it was there. God wasn't really relevant in my life, I guess, unless I needed something. And if I needed something, then I definitely went and gave him my, list of things that I wanted. The term for this mindset is called moral therapeutic deism. Okay, and what this means is that the goal in life is to be happy, and if you're a good person and you're happy, then you'll go to heaven. I mean, God is just on the sidelines. He's the cheerleader for your life, just telling you, good job. If something happens wrong, he'll try to help you out there if you want him to. But that's about it. This is not the type of relationship that Jesus calls us to, of course, but this is the philosophy that I live my life by. I believed in God, but by my lifestyle, you would not think that I really believed in him, because I didn't really do what he was asking me to do. And this is not what Christ meant when he said, follow me. Jesus never said, follow me until it's too hard, or follow me however you want, whenever you want. Don't worry about it. I understand. You're a good person, right? That's not what Jesus means. See, some of us have the idea that following Christ involves some type of servitude, right? If you think that, you're in good company. I thought that too. But here's the thing. I looked at Catholics and I thought Jesus would want me to sit in church all day, serving the poor and being nice to everybody I met. Christianity was just one big brownie point system, right? If I do enough things right, if I do enough good things, then one day I'll go to heaven. And I might do these nice things, but in my heart, I won't feel them. That goodness won't penetrate me. I'm just going to be doing the things just so I can move forward in the game of life to get towards heaven. Or I thought that life with Christ and following him was just about being his servant and just doing whatever he wanted to do whenever he wanted me to do it. And I didn't want to be anybody's servant. But this isn't what Jesus means when he invites us to follow him. I mean, listen to what Jesus says about being a disciple. In John 15, he says, I no longer call you servants, but friends. I mean, friends. That's what he actually calls us to. At the heart of the invitation from Jesus is friendship. When I walked out of that photo shoot, I didn't fully realize it at the time, but at that moment, that was the first time in my life when I responded to God as a person, and I began to seek a friendship with him. I realized that friendship with Christ is a two-way street. We don't just drift into a relationship. They take work. Our thoughts and our actions in relationship, they should be intentional. They should have purpose. Friendship with Christ is the ultimate friendship and will last for eternity. So when the time comes for me to leave this earth, and for all of us to leave this earth, right? I want to see someone I know. I want to see someone I love, and someone that I've had a relationship with, a friendship with, and someone that I've allowed to change my life for the better. That person who we all will face is Jesus Christ. When I walked out of the photo shoot, I walked home to my apartment in New York City, and, I did the only thing a girl could do. I called my dad, right? And I called my dad, and I get on the phone with him, and I just said, Dad, if you don't come and get me, I'm going to lose my soul, which is kind of a heavy statement, right? So there's a long pause, and he just responds, okay, baby, I'm coming to get you. And my daddy drove 2,000 miles to pick me up. When he got to the front door of my apartment in New York City, and I open it up, and he's got his hand stretched out completely wide. He's got the craziest big smile on his face, and he just says, I'm so happy to see you. And I just think he's nuts. I think he's just completely crazy to be happy to see me. I'm just this, I feel like a terrible daughter. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, so I'm just this terrible sister, and all these things. Before we headed out, he looked at me and he just said, okay, first, Leah, we go to confession. And there was this little voice inside me that was just screaming no. I did not want to do it, but at the same time, I'm so happy that he was suggesting it and, telling me to go. Sometimes we need that push, we need that push. We need someone to help us and guide us back to Christ. And so my dad takes me to a church, and we get to that place, and I get to that confessional, and I knelt down and, made the sign of the cross. And that began my journey, that began my journey back home to Christ. And it was scary, sure. I confessed things that I hated to say out loud, I did terrible things, and but I knew, maybe it's from the way my parents raised me, through Catholic schools, I don't know, but I knew that no matter how scared I felt, that Christ would take care of it. That's why they call him the divine physician. He takes care of us. And for me, I literally needed somebody to tell me, do this first, do this second, because I was just kind of lost and confused about what do you do? What's the first step? The first one, to help you in your friendship with Jesus. Reconciliation. Probably not a surprise, right? So it's not a question of if God will forgive you. It's always a question of when will you give God the chance? So this is what God does. He takes away the sins of the world. Let him do what only he can do. When your entire life changes for the better and it's all because of one person, you feel like you have to share that. You can't help but share that. That's what my life is like now. Christ has changed my whole life. And I have to share it. I want to share it. He gives me purpose. And I realized that following Jesus was not servitude, but it's friendship. And how that looks in my life, it's fellowship with my friends and my family. It's talking about Jesus, praying with my friends, praying with myself alone too, going to confession often, going to adoration and worshiping Christ there, receiving him in the Eucharist, attending Mass, and celebrating that beautiful sacrament with my family and friends too. That this is what following Jesus is. And it's not about, what you have to give up. It's what he gives you in everything that you've always wanted. Your whole heart is fulfilled in him. That's following Jesus. That's friendship with Jesus. I've never been happier. I've never been more content. That life changer is Jesus Christ. He's the friend that I've always been waiting for, and he's the friend who's waiting there for you. So go and follow him.